Monkey King and the Mangoes. In a time before, high in the mountains of the Himalayas, near the banks of the river Ganges, there stood a forest. It was the most magnificent forest that had ever been seen. Deep and beautiful, it was undisturbed, untouched, and unseen by any human. It played home to a vast array of animals, insects, and birds who would spend their days dancing and singing. They'd eat from the lush green land, drink from the clear waters, and find shade under the umbrella branch trees bearing fruits. The animal kingdom was happy and wanted for nothing. One morning, Billa and Cheetham, the naughtiest monkeys in the forest, were playing.
Billa, let's go swim in the clear waters of the river Ganges,
suggested Cheetham.
It is rather hot, and it will cool us down,
replied Billa. The two young monkeys swung from branch to branch laughing as they made their way to the river to cool down. As they neared, Billa came to an abrupt stop, causing Cheetham to fly into him.
Ouch! You bended my nose! Why did you have to stop?
Cheetham rubbed his sore nose. Billa stayed quiet, his gaze transfixed ahead of him, eyes wide with delight. Cheetham finally caught sight of what had mesmerized Billa. There in front of them stood the tree. Yes, the most majestic tree the Forest Kingdom had ever seen. Big and broad, with fast swaying branches and dripping with the juiciest, ripened, sweet-smelling mangoes. Both Billa and Cheetham screamed, "Mango season!" and jumped and danced with delight. Mango season was the highlight of the year, where the forest animals would have their fill, and once done, they would wait eagerly for summer to return. And sure enough, as if by magic, the tree had delivered this year's mangoes. "Come on, Billa, let's go tell the king." Cheetham was already halfway up the path when he noticed Billa was not behind him. Billa was standing, staring greedily at the tree.
"Billa,"
Cheetham called out,
"the quicker we tell the king, the quicker we can start eating the mangoes." "But why can't we have one now?"
whined Billa.
"Because we're not allowed."
The thing about the majestic mango tree was that it stood right by the riverbed, its great branches stretching over the fast-flowing stream. Everyone was under strict instructions by the Monkey King that he was to be told when the first mango appeared, so a watchful eye could be kept. You see, under no circumstances was a mango allowed to fall into the river and float towards the human kingdom that lay far down the mountain. Humans destroyed wherever they went, took whatever they wanted, stole the food that nature provided for the animals. The humans were dangerous and not to be trusted. Should the humans discover this joyous tasting fruit, they would want it for themselves, and the animal kingdom would be in danger.
"Please, can we go and tell the king?"
pleaded Cheetham.
"Let us just taste a few before everyone else starts eating them." "No, Billa, there's plenty to go around. We must share."
Before Cheetham could say any more, Billa had scooted up the tree and begun gathering mangoes. 1, then 2, then 3, and before Cheetham could shout any more warnings, Billa had gathered a whole heap of mangoes under one arm.
Billa, be careful, you may fall,
Cheetham shouted. Not that this worried Billa. After all, he was the most agile climber of all the monkeys. He didn't need both arms to swing. It was then that Billa noticed a particularly big mango hanging on the edge of the furthest branch of the tree, overhanging the river.
I'm just going to get that one. That one over there.
No, Billa! It's too dangerous, warned Cheetham.
It's not. I'm the most accomplished climber of any monkey our age.
Billa puffed out his chest with pride. The Monkey King was passing on his morning walk. He'd heard the commotion. What's all this noise? It's disturbing everyone. He peered through the clearing to see Billa teetering on the edge of the furthest branch. In disbelief, he bellowed, "What are you doing?" Cheetham froze. Now they'd done it. Now they were in trouble. The shock of seeing the Monkey King was enough to make Billa lose his balance. Now, under normal circumstances, being a monkey and the most agile monkey at that, Billa should have been able to swing to safety. But if you remember, he had a dozen or so mangoes under one arm. Unable to grab the branch securely, splash! Billa fell into the water. Quickly, the king jumped into the river and pulled Billa to safety. But the mangoes Billa was holding were now in the river, floating away. Sheer panic began. Luckily, other monkeys had also heard the commotion and together managed to grab every last mango before they floated away down to the human kingdom. Phew! That was a close one. Once all was calm and they were back at home, Billa and Cheetham sat quietly, waiting to be told off. Billa, Cheetham, please come and sit by me, asked the Monkey King. Instead of telling the young monkeys off, the Monkey King explained the seriousness of their actions. One day, you may very well be the head of this kingdom. It will be your job to keep every one of us safe.
But we were only playing.
You were taking the mangoes, corrected the Monkey King.
But I only wanted a taste, explained Billa. It's been a whole year since I tasted one.
There is plenty to go round. There was no need to take them secretly.
If there is plenty to go around, why do we not share it with the humans?
Because the human kingdom does not share. The Monkey King held dear the warning his grandfather gave him when he was just a little boy. Many years ago, even before the Monkey King's grandfather was born, the forest stretched further than any of us could even imagine. All the way down the mountain as far as the river could flow. It would take days, if not weeks, to reach the next clearing. That's how big it was. Us monkeys didn't always live here, the Monkey King explained. We lived on the other side of the forest. It was just as magnificent as this, if not more. On the edge of that forest was a human village. For centuries we lived side by side, happily, all sharing the spoils of the land. One day their king passed away. He was old, his eldest son took over the throne. But he was not as smart and as gracious as his father or grandfather before him. He was not content and did not appreciate the generosity of the forest. He was too busy showing off to royalty from the other kingdoms. But most of all, he hated sharing with the forest animals. On one occasion, after visiting the kingdom of a cousin, he became even more greedy. The new human king felt his cousin's palace was more splendid and spacious than his. He wanted to live in the biggest palace. No one's palace was to be bigger than his. He began felling the forest to add to his kingdom. A little at first, then more and more. And soon the king threatened all homes in the forest. The animals, the birds, they begged him, they pleaded, but no. The human king carried on his greedy quest for the biggest palace. Eventually, with no home to call their own, the animals packed up and left. It is often thought, if humans were not greedy for land, what other wonders they may have discovered. So, now you understand. Humans are brutal in their quest.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Will you please ensure that the humans do not discover us?
Oh, yes.
The king had no doubt how dangerous these humans were, and he needed to look after his tribe at all costs. That night, when all the monkeys were fast asleep, a mango too big and heavy to be held by the weakened branch from Billa's earlier visit fell into the river. Splash! As everyone slept peacefully, the juicy mango was carried off by the flow of the river, heading towards the human kingdom. There on the banks of the same Ganges stood Manu, the human king's washerman. Every morning he came to the river to wash all the king's opulent clothes. Manu liked to do his daily chores before the sun became too hot. Today was a particularly good day for Manu. There were not many robes for him to wash, so he took the opportunity to sit down and enjoy the sound of the river. He'd only been sitting there a short while when something caught his eye. Floating from upstream, vibrant yellow in appearance, Manu immediately thought it must be a bird.
If I get it, my family and I could feast well tonight.
Manu leapt into the water, and once back at the bankside he carefully handled it. It wasn't a bird like he initially thought. It was big and it felt juicy. He raised it to his nose and smelt it. Divine. Is this a fruit? Manu thought to himself. Certainly not one he recognized or had seen before. Manu knew he shouldn't keep this to himself. Ging! Ging! A breathless Manu panted on arriving at the palace. The king was sitting down to breakfast.
Look what I found!
Presenting the mango to the king, an exquisite smell filled the room. Where did you find it? Asked the human king.
The river, Your Royal Highness. It came floating down as if from the gods.
The king took a knife and cut through the soft skin before sinking his teeth into the succulent yellow flesh. He had never eaten anything so tasty. What was this generous gift the gods had given them? We must find the source of this wonderful new fruit, and it will take center stage at my forthcoming banquet. Assemble my most fiercest men and my most proficient hunters, ordered the human king. And the king set off in his fleet of boats, unconcerned of what wild and dangerous animals the dense and perilous forest held. Back in the heart of the forest, all the animals were basking in the sunshine, eating all the beautiful mangoes. They heard a noise. Humans are not quiet. Their arrogance makes them loud. The monkeys saw fleets of boats coming up the river. The humans had found them. It was only a matter of time. The fearful panic began. All the animals began scattering. The birds took flight. The monkeys had to think fast. The humans were quite tired. They'd come a long way up the mountain. The Monkey King realized this was something he could take advantage of. Quick! The king ordered all the monkeys to gather. We must go to the other side of the bank and deep into the forest. How will we get there? Cried Chitham. The Monkey King saw a strong vine hanging nearby. Billa, being a rather proficient climber, took a strong vine and swung across to the other side of the bank and tied it around the tree. The Monkey King efficiently got each one of his subjects over to the other side of the bank, including the older ones and the children who could not manage alone. The Monkey King let them cling to his body while carrying them across. And now it was his turn to get to safety. However, the vine had weakened from the weight of all the monkeys crossing. The Monkey King reached halfway across the river when the vine began to give way. He tried to swing faster, but it was no good. The vine gave way and the Monkey King fell into the river. Despite being able to swim, the Monkey King was so tired from carrying the other monkeys across, he could not find the strength to hold himself in the water, let alone swim. From afar downstream, the human king saw what was happening and couldn't believe his eyes. This Monkey King, the way he had looked after his kingdom and his monkeys, he couldn't help but be impressed. Soldiers, we must rescue the Monkey King. On their ruler's orders, the soldiers waded into the fast-flowing river and dragged the Monkey King to safety. The rest of the Monkey Kingdom watched in bated breath to see what the humans would do to their king. Please, Monkey King, do not fear me. I wish you no harm, said the human king. I'm impressed by the way you take care of your kingdom and its subjects. You are indeed a leader to be admired. Thank you, human king. But I must ask, why did you come here? There is nothing for you in this dense forest, but it is our home. I wanted to see where this wonderful fruit came from, and held out the mango seed. So, not knowing what was here, you bought your men and put them in danger? Yes. The human king looked down. You are a better king than me. Only if you do not learn from this, please do not worry. We have no intention to disturb your world. We will leave you alone. The Monkey King smiled. And as a sign of our kingdom's appreciation, every year I will send mangoes for you. There is always plenty to go around if everyone shares. The kings embraced. And that point onwards, the monkeys lived peacefully without ever being disturbed. And in return, the Monkey King kept his word and sent mangoes. The humans began planting the mango seeds, and after a few years, had their own juicy mango trees. There was no need to ever disturb the monkeys ever again.